Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Digital Insight. We are here in sunny Kingston, outside the offices of Wolters Kluwer, to interview an interesting entrepreneur. Please come and follow me inside. Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Digital Insight. My name is Mike Bank and I'm here with Omkar Joshi from Company Reporting. Omkar, why don't you tell us a bit more about Company Reporting?
Sure, thank you. And thank you for having me on Digital Insight. Really appreciate the opportunity. Company Reporting is a niche research company. We cover annual reports of public companies, understanding sort of trends and techniques in financial reporting. It's a very niche sort of market. As far as we know, no one else does it, and we are sort of the leaders in this field of trends and techniques in financial reporting. It's a business that was that's been founded quite some time back. The brand itself, Company Reporting, but obviously in the last 3-4 years we've made some serious progress there.
And of course you were recently bought out by Wolters Kluwer.
That's right. Yes, last week we finally accepted the offer of Wolters Kluwer to completely buy out the business, so an acquisition. It was after a series of discussions over the last year or so, started with partnership discussions, and eventually we accepted to be acquired by the company.
Okay, great. Let's take it a step back, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about what you were doing before you started with Company Reporting.
Sure, thank you. My background is I'm not a typical entrepreneur. I'm sure several of your audience entrepreneurs are first-time entrepreneurs who are doing stuff when they are young. They're creating new products. A lot of developers. I'm not that stereotype. I'm a slightly older entrepreneur. I had a very cushy job in Thomson Reuters, which is actually a competitor now. And I used to be part of the strategy function in the innovation department, working with divisions within the company to create new products and take them to market.
So it was quite a big jump then to go off and set up on your own. What led you to doing that?
Yeah, it was a sort of all my life passion to really start something on my own. For all my sins, I'm actually a qualified chartered accountant. And one of the things that my father used to say when I was studying for my accountancy was, hopefully at some stage in your life you might jump and set up your own practice. And that was as good as setting your own business got for me or for him at that point. But at Thomson Reuters, I was like I said, a very comfortable job. I was doing a lot of board level presentations, and at that point I felt like I needed to make this choice and really give it a shot. I was 30 then, and I said, if I don't try this now, it's never going to happen. So I might as well just give it a shot, give it a crack, and if things go to plan, in a few years, I'll be sitting on a reasonably good business. If they don't go to plan, I've got enough qualifications to actually find a job and support my sort of growing family.
So you had security to an extent, you had the comfort, but you wanted to do more.
Yeah, it was a very secure job, absolutely. And this was a point in 2007, 2008, actually before Lehman Brothers went bust and the whole sort of credit bubble burst. So yes, the job was secure. I had just finished an MBA as well, so prospects within Thomson Reuters were quite bright for me. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So in terms of actually taking the step and making that jump away from the corporate world, what sort of work did you do beforehand to maybe test the market and to see if there was a demand for your product?
Yeah. We used to look at quite a few new opportunities, new markets, and Thomson Reuters being a very global organization, the view was always across the world, what's happening. Let's look at sort of parallel markets, how they function. Because of my background, I always had an interest in sort of tax and accounting. So accounting is my primary focus. Before being part of strategy, I was part of the core accounting function. So I had a good view of how the market was, what sort of customer needs existed. So I knew there were some very specific niche areas that weren't being covered by some of the largest publishers. That's where I recognized the opportunity, and I was able to sort of part ways with Thomson Reuters on amicable terms, so that I could actually do something of my own. It was a difficult decision with the sort of security that I had, but at the same time, it was I was motivated to do this at that point.
Let's talk about your early days in that case and the challenges you faced, maybe coming up to your first sale. How did you go about that?
This is a very interesting question, because like I said, I'm not the stereotype entrepreneur, so I didn't actually create a product myself. Mm-hmm. So I had ideas in my mind. I worked with sort of a number of developers, designers, actually a couple from our very popular sort of open coffee club, the London sort of premier online mailing list. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's meant to be a physical networking event as well, but actually I got a couple of developers to actually build a prototype for me, and that was really the start of company reporting that it is now today. And we I think also part of your question before was, did we look at the market, what sort of study we did? Yeah. That was my core expertise, was really to understand what the market wants. I'm not a developer, so I can't really build a product, mm-hmm. but I was able to build screens. I was able to build prototypes in PowerPoint or by hand, and actually create the kind of customer experience that I felt would really work with some of the customers. And then I actually took that extra step. I met several customers, potential customers, partners, and the likes, and showed them the prototype, showed them how this will actually function, what are the things that we can add, and how it's going to help our customers do their research. So actually the kind of response I got at that point was, wow, this is excellent, you got to do this. Yeah. There's nothing like this that exists in the market, go for it and do it.
Excellent. So it sounds to me a little like you knew exactly where your core skills lay, yeah. and you worked to build a team around you to fill in the gaps, basically. Yeah. I guess my next question is, how was this funded? Were you looking for outside funding from angels or VCs or even incubators or accelerators?
Yes, I mean, this again, great stories about me going on rainy days and standing outside VC offices to be there on time. We almost got to a term sheet stage with a prolific Silicon Valley VC. Actually, it so happens that this market is actually very well developed in the US, okay. because of what's known as US GAAP, which is a very complex set of rules. So the market is actually quite well developed in the US, but on the other side of the pond in Europe, it's not quite there yet. Mm. So some of the US VCs actually understood the value that we were trying to create. Now, we almost got to a term sheet stage, but this was right the week before Lehman Brothers episode. Okay. So at that point, they just pulled the rug under all of their forthcoming investments, and the whole thing fell off a cliff. So at that point, then I chose to sort of try out incubators, seed camp, angel pad, or all the likes. There was a E100 at LBS, mm-hmm. Which is also sort of angel network. I tried quite a few angel investors. I tried quite a few other sort of early stage funding bodies, and I just found it really tough going. Seed camps probably rejected my application on a couple of occasions.
Despite being a mentor for Seed Camp, is
yes,
that right?
and I have tremendous respect for Seed Camp. I think they obviously have unearthed some real superstar companies, and I guess my pitch wasn't perfect, or the opportunity was not clear enough. So, but the bottom line is I did not get funding at that stage, and I kept on building the product, sort of bootstrapped a little bit of it. and kept showing it to people to sort of continue getting the feedback on whether it's working or not.
So it sounds like you suffered not necessarily setbacks because you had the knowledge, you had the team around you to help you develop the product, and of course you also had the customers who had almost given you the reason to build the product in the first place. So you had that all in place, but you did suffer some challenges. One of which you mentioned was the funding side of things. I wonder if you could maybe share with us some of the other challenges that you faced in the early days.
Sure, yeah. I think one of the biggest issues I have is the product is, like I said, a very niche research tool, and several of the funding bodies or VCs, investors, or even potential customers or suppliers didn't actually understand the product. So a big shift for me was from selling the product to actually explaining to people what it is that we are doing.
Yeah.
Then we also suffered from the bias of a typical sort of market perception of B2B businesses, which are what we refer to as unsexy on several occasions.
Yes.
Is the fact that B2B doesn't really appeal to most people around, and this is a core B2B business. We are absolutely a business selling to large public companies and accounting firms. So it's a complete B2B business, and the real problem is that people just do not see eye to eye if you say we are B2B. I think everybody out there is looking for the next Facebook and the next Twitter or LinkedIn, and actually they don't exist, do they?
Yeah.
Because if they did, they would have been out there already. So that was one of the key challenges, whether it's speaking to potential customers, investors, employees. Even employees are keen to work for a sexy startup, developers, for example. So I used to find quite a few developers who would do stuff for me on a paid basis, but not necessarily those who wanted to come and join hands, because it wasn't really the kind of opportunity they wanted to be involved in.
And that's a big problem, I think, that many startups face across the board, even the sexier startups, for want of a better word.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.